Ye Xuan leaves Canglan Academy behind and steps alone toward Two Realms Mountain, where the Sword Lord's ruins are about to open. But the journey is far from peaceful. Cangmu Academy still waits for revenge. The World Prison Tower grows more unstable, and the being sealed on the second floor begins to reach beyond its prison. Inside the ancient cave residence, hidden swords, deadly geniuses, and long-buried regrets are waiting. And beside the ninth princess, Ye Xuan will learn that in a true struggle for opportunity, mercy can cost a life. Now let us follow the next developments in The First Sword God, Episode 11. Ye Xuan was completely stunned, who had hit him. He sprang up at once and summoned the Lingxiao Sword. With his guard fully raised, he swept his eyes over every direction around him, but he discovered nothing. He lowered his gaze and looked at his reflection on the surface of the Lingxiao Sword. On his right cheek he could clearly see a tiny claw mark. His expression sank at once. He recognized that claw mark. It was exactly the same as the one on the piece of paper that had flown out from the World Prison Tower. Could that fellow actually come out? The moment this thought appeared, Ye Xuan felt a chill run through him. Cold sweat broke out across his whole body. He hurried back into the World Prison Tower, but everything inside the tower was calm. There was no movement at all. The upper floor was also silent. Ye Xuan glanced toward the entrance of the second floor. His expression was rather strange, he could be certain now. The one who had hit him was definitely the being on the second floor. And there was nothing he could do about it. Go up to the second floor and challenge it alone, was that not seeking death? He could not afford to provoke it. Absolutely could not afford to provoke it. Ye Xuan rubbed his burning right cheek, then turned and left the World Prison Tower. At noon, inside Canglan Hall, everyone sat around the dining table. More than 10 dishes had been placed on the table. There were meat dishes and vegetarian dishes, and every one of them smelled delicious. This time, Xianxia did not move her chopsticks first. She only licked the tips of them, not caring about her image at all. Everyone had long since gotten used to it. At that moment, old Jai suddenly said, "After this meal, it is time for all of you to leave." Leave? Ye Xuan looked at old Jai. Are they also going to Two Realms Mountain? Old Jai shook his head. I am taking the two of them to another place for training. Ye Xuan nodded slightly. He then looked at Mo Yunqi and Bai Zi and said, take care. Bai Zi replied, you too. Mo Yunqi grinned. The next time we meet, we will have a proper spar. Ye Xuan smiled and was just about to say something when Ye Lion, who was beside him, suddenly gave a small snort. You definitely cannot beat my brother. Mo Yunqi rolled his eyes. Yes, yes. Your brother is the strongest. By now, Mo Yunqi had finally understood one thing. In Canglan Academy, the one person he absolutely should not offend was the little girl in front of him. Her position in everyone's heart was extremely high. Not only could she cook, she could also pour wine for old Jai. In the middle of the night, she even prepared food for Xianxia. Most importantly, she washed clothes for them as well. Even Bai Zi liked this little girl very much. If he offended her, it would be the same as offending everyone. Ye Lion's lips curved into a small smile. She picked up a piece of lean meat and placed it into Ye Xuan's bowl. Brother, eat this. Ye Xuan gently rubbed Ye Lion's head, his eyes filled with affection. Mo Yunqi suddenly shook his head and sighed. Ah, other people's little sisters. Everyone looked at one another and laughed. Half an hour later, old Jai led Mo Yunqi and Bai Zi down the mountain. At the foot of the mountain, Mo Yunqi waved at Ye Xuan. The next time we meet, we will fight. Ye Xuan smiled, good. Bai Zi gave him a slight salute, take care. After speaking, Bai Zi turned and quickly followed old Jai together with Mo Yunqi. Ye Xuan held Ye Lion's hand and walked to Xianxia. Looking straight at her, he asked, will my sister be safe here? Xianxia looked at Ye Xuan and did not speak. Ye Xuan stared at her as well, he also said nothing. At that moment, Xianxia suddenly shifted her body sideways. In the next instant, a blade as thin as a cicada's wing appeared in her hand. With a single flash, she appeared 10 zhang away. The moment she stopped, the ground behind her cracked open. A deep fissure split through the earth, its depth could not be seen. More than that, inside the crack, a mysterious force still lingered and did not dissipate. Seeing this scene, Ye Xuan's pupils shrank slightly. His heart was filled with shock. That was intent, blade intent. He had never expected that this glutton standing before him would actually be so powerful. Thinking about it now, he felt a little afraid. Because this gluttonous young woman had almost once used her blade to cut him to death. At this time, Ye Lion walked up to Ye Xuan, took out a bundle, and pushed it into his arms. "Brother, there is a pair of shoes inside. I just made them. There is also some dry food. I made that too. After you leave, fight less, all right? Do not get yourself injured. And I will stay here obediently. Do not worry about me." Ye Xuan gently stroked Ye Lion's head and said, "Wait for me to come back." After saying that, he carried the bundle on his back, turned, and walked into the distance. He was not the kind of man who would pretend he was not hungry when someone offered him food while his stomach was empty. Although he could not bear to leave his sister, a man's ambitions lay beyond the four walls around him. There were certain things that, at certain moments, had to be done decisively. They could not be dragged out with hesitation. Under Ye Lion's fixed gaze, Ye Xuan's back grew more and more distant. Ye Lion did not cry. She simply stood there and watched. She continued watching until Ye Xuan completely disappeared into the distance. Even then, she did not immediately look away. Only after a long while did she turn and walk to Xianxia. She tugged at Xianxia's hand. "Sister Jai, let us go." Xianxia glanced at Ye Lion and comforted her. "Do not worry." Ye Lion's lips curved into a smile. "Brother told us to wait for him to come back. Then he will definitely come back. My brother has never broken a promise to me." Xianxia nodded lightly. She turned her head and looked into the distance. As if she had thought of something, she shook her head faintly. "He is not a bad man. Unfortunately, he likes men." After descending the mountain, Ye Xuan went directly to the drunken Immortal Tower flying ship station outside the imperial capital. If he wanted to go to Two Realms Mountain, he naturally had to take a flying ship. But just as he left the city, a group of people rushed out. Judging from their clothing, they were clearly students of Cangmu Academy. Ever since Ye Xuan had killed students of Cangmu Academy, one could say that the students of Cangmu Academy had not stopped thinking about revenge for even a moment. Although they did not dare go directly to Canglan Academy to find Ye Xuan and the other two, they had not given up. They had sent people to keep watch below Canglan Academy's mountain at all times. Now that Ye Xuan had come down the mountain, they received the news and immediately rushed over. Ye Xuan stopped. Seeing him stop, the Cangmu Academy students all stopped as well. Ye Xuan turned his back slightly and looked at the Cangmu Academy students. Then he asked, "Single combat, single combat." The students were stunned. Was he really that direct? At this moment, a Cangmu Academy student stepped forward and slowly walked to Ye Xuan. He said in a grim voice, "Ye Xuan, you killed students of my Cangmu Academy. Today I..." Before he could finish speaking, Ye Xuan suddenly disappeared. Boom. Before the man could finish his words, his whole body was sent flying several zhang away. Complete suppression. Seeing this, the Cangmu Academy students were instantly dumbfounded. Was he that strong? The students looked at one another. Some of them wanted to rush forward together. At that moment, Ye Xuan suddenly said, "Since there are so many of you, why not all come at once? In any case, Cangmu Academy does not need face. Come, all of you come together." Hearing this, the faces of the Cangmu Academy students became extremely ugly. Go together. They had originally wanted to rush forward together, but after Ye Xuan said it like that, none of them dared to do it. Because this was broad daylight. If they really attacked him as a group, even if they won, it would not sound good once the story spread. Seeing that the Cangmu Academy students did not dare attack, Ye Xuan pointed at them and said, "You are nothing but a bunch of little brothers." After saying this, he turned and left. Behind Ye Xuan, the faces of the Cangmu Academy students were extremely ugly, but none of them dared to act. They were not fools. Just from the way Ye Xuan had attacked earlier, they knew that none of them could be his opponent. If they continued fighting, they would only bring humiliation on themselves. To put it simply, they had now clearly recognized one reality. Only people from the inner court could deal with Ye Xuan. Just like that, under the watchful eyes of the Cangmu Academy students, Ye Xuan gradually disappeared into the distance. Half an hour later, Ye Xuan boarded the flying ship. This time he stayed in a first-class room. Naturally, that was because of the purple card. With that card, he could eat and stay in first-class rooms free of charge. For something so good, Ye Xuan would of course not refuse. A person who did not take advantage of a benefit placed right in front of him was an idiot. After the flying ship started moving, Ye Xuan went up to the deck to relax. "It is you." At that moment, a familiar voice sounded beside Ye Xuan's ear. Ye Xuan turned his head and saw a young woman in a red dress standing not far away. The woman was very beautiful. In particular, her slender figure made people unable to resist wanting to hold her and admire her. She was Mo Suiking, the woman who had once had a conflict with him. Beside Mo Suiking, there was also a man. He wore a luxurious brocade robe, a golden crown on his head, and a jade pendant at his waist. His face was like white jade, and he was very handsome. That man was also looking at Ye Xuan and examining him constantly. Ye Xuan only glanced at Mo Suiking, then withdrew his gaze. After that, he walked to the front of the flying ship and looked at the scenery below as it grew smaller and smaller. In his heart, he thought of the legendary sword immortals. Riding a sword between heaven and earth. That was the dream of every sword cultivator. Seeing that Ye Xuan did not even bother to look at her, Mo Suiking's face turned cold. Since the day she was born, wherever she went, she attracted countless gazes. When had anyone ever ignored her like this, she walked to Ye Xuan's side. Ye Xuan turned to look at her and frowned. The woman before him was indeed very beautiful. As long as one was a man, one would like looking at her. But he truly did not like her. More accurately, he disliked her. He particularly disliked this kind of woman who did not know how to respect others, yet always believed herself to be right. And Lingyou was still better. When he thought of that woman dressed entirely in snow-white robes, Ye Xuan's brows relaxed and he smiled faintly. Ye Xuan, at that moment Mo Suiking suddenly smiled and said, "What is this? Am I so unwelcome?" Ye Xuan shook his head. "Miss Mo, those who walk different paths should not scheme together." Mo Suiking closed her eyes and said, "I heard you joined Canglan Academy." Ye Xuan nodded. "Congratulations," Mo Suiking said with a smile. Her face was bright but her words were rather piercing. Ye Xuan only nodded lightly. He said nothing and he had no desire to say anything. He turned and walked to another side. Mo Suiking had no intention of letting him go. She immediately followed him. In a little more than a year, it will be time for the contest between Cangmu Academy and Canglan Academy. Ye Xuan did not bother to respond. Mo Suiking continued, "At that time I will definitely come to watch." Ye Xuan glanced at her, then walked to another side again. Seeing this, Mo Suiking's expression darkened. As if she had thought of something, she glanced at the man beside her and smiled. "Brother Mu, look. He really does not welcome me." The man glanced at Ye Xuan, then glanced at Mo Suiking but said nothing. He was not stupid. Of course, he understood that the woman beside him wanted to use him. At that moment, Ye Xuan suddenly turned and looked at Mo Suiking. "Can you not see that I really hate you? Can you stop coming near me? If you keep staying close to me, I am afraid I will not be able to hold myself back and will punch you to death." Mo Suiking. Mo Suiking's eyes fixed on Ye Xuan. Her hands clenched tightly and her whole body trembled. The man beside her looked surprised. After Ye Xuan finished speaking, he turned and left. Unexpectedly, Mo Suiking spoke again and stopped him. "You dare slander me." He stopped and walked to stand before her. "Slander? I have already let you go twice. You are the one who keeps clinging and refusing to stop." As he spoke, Ye Xuan raised his hand and pinched her cheek. "Miss Mo, ask your own heart. Other than your face and your status, what else do you have? In other words, if you did not have this face and did not have the identity of a daughter of the Mo family, would there still be any men circling around you? Do you think they truly like you? No. They only desire your body and your status. Without those two things in their eyes, you would not even be worth a single coin." He withdrew his hand and continued, "You think you are the one playing with those men, but forgive my bluntness, what meaning does that have? Anyone with even a little brain would not be spun around by you like a toy." Miss N was right. The Mo family is at least a famous noble family, yet you spend your days doing these things. Do you not feel that you are embarrassing your clan? Think about it yourself. And do not scheme against me anymore. I do not want to be hunted by your entire family after I beat you to death. After saying this, he did not linger at all. He left decisively, leaving Mo Suiking standing motionless where she was, her face as cold as ice and both hands clenched tightly into fists. No one knew what she was thinking. Ye Xuan did not truly hate Mo Suiking, but he did not have much favorable impression of this kind of conceited girl either. He pushed her out of his mind, returned to his private room, and entered the World Prison Tower. Senior. He swept his eyes around and called softly. What answered him was only absolute silence. There was no voice from the mysterious woman. The fact that she had suddenly vanished made him feel somewhat uneasy. His expression could not help sinking. At that moment, a piece of paper flew out from the entrance to the second floor of the tower. Ye Xuan narrowed his eyes. The piece of paper slowly drifted in front of him. On it was a calm face. There was no way to tell whether it was happy, angry, sad, or joyful. But beneath the face there was a claw mark. The corner of Ye Xuan's mouth stiffened. He glanced around once, then hurriedly left the World Prison Tower. Who or what exactly was being imprisoned on the second floor? Ye Xuan was full of doubt. But no matter who or what it was, he only knew one thing. At this moment, it was absolutely not something he could defeat. He had to find the Dao rule as soon as possible. In the following period of time, Ye Xuan threw himself into bitter cultivation. Although he had already reached the Imperial Kai realm, he still had not fully understood this realm, especially the way to use Sword Kai and Sword Light. Unfortunately, the mysterious woman revealed nothing about these things. Therefore, Ye Xuan could only explore and study them by himself. What was worth mentioning was that he could now use one sword decides life and death without struggling as much as before. Not only that, the power of the technique had also increased greatly. It could now fully kill a Skysword realm expert, becoming both his trump card and his greatest killing move. After that, Ye Xuan cultivated both his fist and his sword like a madman. He absolutely did not neglect either one. Time passed in the blink of an eye. 2 days later, the flying ship slowly descended as it neared Two Realms City. Ye Xuan walked onto the deck and looked down at the city below as it grew larger and larger. He was somewhat surprised to see groups of soldiers guarding the four corners of the city wall. Below, more than 1,000 soldiers were training fiercely. Every one of them moved in an orderly manner, and they carried the air of slaughter. They looked no different from a sharp elite army. When the flying ship landed steadily in Two Realms City, Ye Xuan had just jumped down when a figure appeared in front of him, Mo Suiking. Ye Xuan frowned. Before he could speak, she spoke first. Remember this. Then she left without any explanation. How strange. Ye Xuan shook his head. He took out the map old Jai had given him and quickly found the location of the cave residence marked on it. He did not linger in the city. He left directly and raced into the mountains on the right, quickly entering the vast mountain range. This kind of environment was something he had never been unfamiliar with. He followed the directions on the map for about 2 hours. The deeper he went into the mountains, the higher the temperature became. Not long after, he stopped before the mouth of a huge valley hidden among 3 mountains that stood like a tripod. He had arrived. Ye Xuan was just about to move forward when a wave of pressure suddenly enveloped him. His expression changed slightly. His eyes swept around, but he found no one, proof of identity. A strange voice sounded beside his ear. Ye Xuan quickly took out the jade pendant and Lingxiao had given him. When he raised the jade pendant, the pressure quickly disappeared. Only then did he feel reassured and continue forward. Before long, he entered the valleys. At that moment, the Lingxiao Sword inside his body suddenly trembled as if it wanted to fly out. Ye Xuan was shocked and hurriedly suppressed it. What was going on? He frowned, filled with doubt. You have come. A voice sounded from Ye Xuan's right. He looked over and saw a woman wearing a long silver dress. At her waist hung a golden curved saber, the 9th princess. Ye Xuan walked over and said with surprise, you knew I would come. The 9th princess examined him briefly, then nodded, follow me. She left immediately without waiting. Ye Xuan thought for a moment, then chased after her. Seeing that the ninth princess remained silent for the whole way, Ye Xuan could not help saying, "You knew I would come." "She is my close friend," came the short answer, and Lingyou. Ye Xuan immediately understood. And Lingyou must have told the ninth princess that she had given him the jade pendant. With the ninth princess leading the way, the two arrived at a patch of open ground in the forest. She sat down directly and told him to do the same. Ye Xuan did not mind the dirt and sat cross-legged. The ninth princess picked up a branch and used it to draw a circle on the ground. This cave residence belongs to the Sword Lord of the Kang world, a figure who once shook the entire Kang world. I believe I do not need to introduce him much. This place does not come from the period when he stood at his peak. It comes from an even older era. But because of that, its value is difficult to calculate. The people participating in the exploration of this cave residence include the great figures above and various sect powers from the mountains. She paused and glanced at Ye Xuan. No person and no force can take this cave residence for themselves alone. So, in order to avoid conflict, those above issued qualification tokens, allowing the younger generation of various powers to enter and search for opportunities. To put it simply, this time, it will not only be people from Jiang Kingdom. There will also be geniuses from other countries, as well as disciples from other sects. You will meet those proud sons and daughters of heaven. Ye Xuan asked, "Will there be people from Cangmu Academy?" The ninth princess looked at him. "Yes, but I do not know who." Ye Xuan nodded. In any case, at worst, they would fight. The ninth princess seemed to read his thoughts and reminded him, "Remember, you came here to seek opportunity, not to fight and kill." Ye Xuan smiled lightly. "I do not want to cause trouble with them. I am only afraid that when they see me, they will rush over to fight." "You know the conflict between Canglan and Cangmu?" The ninth princess nodded. "We will see when the time comes." Then, as if she had suddenly remembered something, she raised her head and looked at Ye Xuan. "If I remember correctly, you are a sword cultivator." Ye Xuan nodded. The ninth princess fell silent for a long time before she said, "Do not casually reveal this identity." "Why?" Ye Xuan did not understand. The ninth princess answered in a low voice. The master of this cave residence, the Sword Lord of the Kang world, was also a sword cultivator. When a sword cultivator comes here, he will naturally have some advantages. If you reveal it, others may put you in their sights. She glanced to the right and continued, "The opportunities here are seized, not found. Whoever seizes them owns them." Ye Xuan. After that, the ninth princess took out 2 green medicinal pills and flicked one toward Ye Xuan. "Poison-repelling pill, just in case." Ye Xuan received it and swallowed it immediately. The ninth princess could not help looking at him curiously. "You trust me that much?" Ye Xuan replied softly, "I trust her, and Lingyou." If the ninth princess was Lingyou's close friend, then she was absolutely someone he could trust. The ninth princess looked at him. "You like her?" Ye Xuan. Facing his silence, she did not continue asking. She swallowed the other pill. "Work hard." Ye Xuan opened his mouth to reply, but footsteps suddenly came from the distance. The two of them looked over at the same time. They saw a young man of about 20 years old walking toward them. He was tall and strongly built, with a rough beard on his face. Recognizing that the man was wearing clothing from Tang Kingdom, Ye Xuan could not help frowning. The young man was also stunned when he saw Ye Xuan and the ninth princess. Clearly, he had also wandered here by mistake. He was about to leave when he caught sight of the ninth princess. His eyes suddenly narrowed. Jiang Kingdom. The ninth princess remained indifferent, leaning against a tree. The young man stared at her for a while. The corner of his mouth lifted into a vulgar smile. "I like sleeping with women from Jiang Kingdom. They are very fun to play with, you." Before he could finish speaking, Ye Xuan, who had been sitting on the ground, suddenly sprang up. He pounced toward the man like an enraged hunting leopard. The young man's expression changed. He had no time to dodge and could only hurriedly throw a punch. Ye Xuan also responded with collapsing fist. Not only did his fist carry battle intent, it also carried the pressure of fist force. The two fists collided, boom, crack. The young man's arm twisted and broke into a grotesque shape. His whole body was sent flying. Ye Xuan did not let him go, he continued forward. A moment later he dragged the young man who was groaning constantly before the 9th princess. Then he kicked him. Apologize. The 9th princess looked at him. Apologize for what? Without waiting for Ye Xuan to answer, the curved saber at her waist left its sheath. The blade cut across the young man's neck. Slash, his head and body separated. The 9th princess sheathed her saber, lifted the still dripping head and said, "You are still not ruthless enough. Watch and learn. This man should have companions. Come. I will take you to kill people." Ye Xuan. Ye Xuan was stunned. He was not ruthless enough. After calmly examining himself, he felt that he was already ruthless enough. Of course, the 9th princess before him seemed to be an even more vicious character. At this moment the 9th princess, who was not far away, suddenly stopped. She turned and looked at Ye Xuan. "Why are you still standing there in a daze? We are going to kill people, Ye Xuan." Just like that, Ye Xuan followed the 9th princess into the distance. But before leaving, he searched the corpse of that handsome young man. He obtained several high-grade spirit stones. Including what he already had, he now had a total of 15 high-grade spirit stones. Apart from that, there were also around 100 gold coins. It could be considered a decent sum. Under the 9th princess's lead, the two arrived at a mountain stream. In a hollow in the mountain, Ye Xuan saw two people. They were two men. Judging from their clothing, both were people of Tang Kingdom. The customs and clothing of Tang Kingdom and Jiang Kingdom were somewhat different. Their accents were also clearly different. When the two men saw the 9th princess and Ye Xuan, they first froze. People of Jiang Kingdom. Then the two of them looked at the bloody head in the 9th princess's hand. The moment they saw it, their faces turned cold. At that moment, the 9th princess suddenly threw the head toward one of the men. Then she flew out like a gust of wind. Her speed was extremely fast. Ye Xuan narrowed his eyes. The 9th princess's strength had completely exceeded his expectations. He did not think much more and charged forward as well, because one of the men was already attacking him. When he arrived in front of that man, Ye Xuan did not hesitate. He threw a punch, fist force. With that punch, several rocks around him immediately shattered. Sensing the power in Ye Xuan's fist, the man opposite him was secretly shocked. He did not dare to be careless. He hurriedly stopped, half kneeling, and suddenly crossed both arms in front of him. Crack. The ground beneath his feet split open. At the same time, both sleeves on his arms exploded apart. In that moment, his arms suddenly turned golden, as hard as metal. By then, Ye Xuan's fist had arrived. Boom. After a thunderous explosion, the man was forced back several zhang. Ye Xuan also retreated about 1 zhang. After stopping, Ye Xuan glanced at his fist. It had become red. Seeing this, Ye Xuan's deep eyes narrowed. As expected, the people who came here were not simple. At that moment, the man suddenly strode forward and came directly before Ye Xuan. He swung both arms toward him. As those arms fell, the air around them exploded. The power was extremely terrifying. Ye Xuan slowly clenched his right fist. Battle intent gathered on it. He was just about to attack when a shadow suddenly appeared in front of him. A second later, the man's head flew straight away. Ye Xuan stared in shock at the woman standing before him. Silver dress, golden saber, it was the 9th princess in only one instant. Ye Xuan's mind went briefly blank. The 9th princess put away her golden saber. She turned and walked to Ye Xuan, looking at him like that. "Why did you not use your full strength, Ye Xuan?" The 9th princess stared straight at him. "You are a sword cultivator. You clearly could have used your full strength and killed him in the shortest possible time. Why did you hold back? Do you know that in a place like this, if you cannot end a battle as quickly as possible, you may attract more enemies and then be attacked by more people?" Ye Xuan was silent. The 9th princess took another step forward. Her eyes were like blades and her voice became even colder. "This is not a place for you to come and train. In a place like this, either you kill others or others kill you." Ye Xuan smiled bitterly. "I understand." The 9th princess said coldly, "Be serious." Ye Xuan repeated seriously, "I understand." The 9th princess nodded lightly. "Follow me." Ye Xuan collected the spoils again. He obtained 5 high-grade spirit stones and 50 gold coins. Now he had a total of 20 high-grade spirit stones and 150 gold coins. Ye Xuan looked at the small pouch at his waist and smiled foolishly, then he quickly followed. Under the 9th princess's guidance, the two arrived at a hidden place inside a mountain cave. The 9th princess sat cross-legged on the ground, lit a fire, and then, as if performing a trick, took out a chicken and began to roast it. Ye Xuan stared with wide eyes. When they had arrived, there had clearly been nothing in the 9th princess's hands. The 9th princess glanced at Ye Xuan. "What is it, curious?" Ye Xuan quickly nodded. The 9th princess showed him the ring on her finger, a spatial ring. There is space inside it. It can store some things except living beings. Ye Xuan blinked. "Can I take a look?" The 9th princess was quite generous. With a flick of her finger, the spatial ring flew straight to Ye Xuan. Ye Xuan carefully examined the spatial ring. His eyes were filled with curiosity. How much can it hold? The 9th princess said softly, "About the size of a large room." Ye Xuan was stunned. Then he asked, "How many gold coins does one cost?" The 9th princess looked at Ye Xuan calmly. 500,000 gold coins. And even with money you may not be able to buy one. 500,000, Ye Xuan froze. Then he returned the ring to the 9th princess. 500,000, what kind of joke was that? Even if someone sold him, he would not be able to afford it. The 9th princess looked at the spatial ring and said, "If you want it, I can give it to you." Ye Xuan decisively shook his head. The 9th princess was a little surprised. "Why?" Ye Xuan said, "No one gives anything to someone else for nothing." The 9th princess looked at Ye Xuan and said seriously, "Join my army. In the future I will protect you." Ye Xuan smiled bitterly. "I already agreed to old Jai. Right now I am a student of Canglan Academy. As a person I must keep my word." The 9th princess nodded and did not say anything more. If Ye Xuan had decisively agreed to her, then she definitely would not have wanted him. A person truly needed strength, but character was also necessary. Ye Xuan turned his head and looked outside the cave. "When do we enter the Sword Lord's cave residence?" The 9th princess said, "Tomorrow morning. Tomorrow is the final deadline. Those who should come will all come." Ye Xuan looked at the 9th princess. "You are very strong." The 9th princess said softly, "That is because you have not seen many more geniuses and monsters. Jiang Kingdom is very small and Lingyou is very large. Tomorrow, you will discover that this world has many outstanding people. And that is still not the most frightening thing. The most frightening thing is that those outstanding people work extremely hard as well." Ye Xuan sat in front of the 9th princess. "You and Miss An are both very outstanding." The 9th princess tore off a chicken leg and tossed it to Ye Xuan. Although little N was born in Jiang Kingdom, her origins are not ordinary. Being friends with her brings great pressure. If you have other thoughts, then the pressure will be even greater than the sky. Ye Xuan nodded. "I will work hard to become stronger." The 9th princess's lips curved slightly. "This personality of yours, I like it." After saying that, she leaned against the nearby cave wall. "After you finish eating, sleep. Tomorrow morning we enter the mountain and kill people." Ye Xuan, a night passed. At dawn the next day, Ye Xuan and the 9th princess left the mountain cave and went straight deeper into the great mountain range. The two arrived before a large mountain. Halfway up the mountainside, there was an enormous cave entrance. Around that cave entrance, sword light flickered. "Is that the entrance?" Ye Xuan asked. The 9th princess nodded. "Those great figures forcibly broke open an entrance. I heard that when they forced it open, 2 Nether Passage Realm experts died. So when we enter later, besides guarding against people, we must also guard against unknown existences inside." Ye Xuan nodded, understood. The two quickened their steps. At that moment, a black-clothed man suddenly appeared beside them. His speed was extremely fast. Ye Xuan's heart trembled. This person's speed was not inferior to Mo Yunqi's. As expected, no one who came here was simple. When the man passed the two of them, he suddenly turned his head and glanced at Ye Xuan and the 9th princess. He sneered, then made a throat-cutting gesture. Ye Xuan. The black-clothed man did not stop. Instead, he sped up and disappeared into the distance like a wisp of smoke. Ye Xuan was just about to speak. At that moment, a miserable scream suddenly came from the distance. Then a bloody head rolled to the feet of the 9th princess and Ye Xuan. Looking at that head, Ye Xuan was stunned. Because the bloody head belonged to the black-clothed man from just now, he had died just like that. Beside Ye Xuan, the 9th princess said softly, "One glance and you can tell this was his first time wandering outside. If one is not truly powerful like Little Anne, it is best to be a little humble." Ye Xuan nodded seriously. "I will be humble." The 9th princess suddenly turned her head and looked at him. "Humble. Be humble when it is time to be humble. Be arrogant when it is time to be arrogant. Otherwise, others will think you are easy to bully." After saying that, she suddenly drew the golden saber at her waist and slashed into the distance. Whoosh, a golden saber light flashed. A towering tree dozens of zhang away exploded. At the same time, a figure was blasted dozens of meters away. The 9th princess looked coldly at the figure in the distance. "Get lost," the figure said nothing. With a slight tremble, it immediately fled. The 9th princess raised her head and looked coldly around her. "Trash does not need to appear, it only wastes my saber kai, Ye Xuan." The 9th princess turned to him. "Let us go," the two continued forward. Before long, they arrived at the entrance. In front of the entrance, a long-haired man was sitting there. The man's hair was very long, even longer than a woman's. Half of his face was covered by his long hair. The man held a blood-red saber in his hand. At his feet there were several bloody heads. At that moment, the long-haired man raised his head and looked at the 9th princess and Ye Xuan. He opened his mouth and grinned. His teeth were yellow, and his smile made one feel extremely uncomfortable. In addition, his appearance was very ugly, as if he had once been burned by fire. The long-haired man suddenly tapped his long saber lightly on the ground and said hoarsely, 100 high-grade spirit stones. Passage fee. The 9th princess looked at the long-haired man. "Being ugly is not your fault. But making me feel disgusted is your fault." After saying that, she looked at Ye Xuan. "Beat him to death, Ye Xuan." Before Ye Xuan could attack, the long-haired man not far away suddenly raised his saber and strode forward, slashing toward Ye Xuan. This saber strike was extremely direct and extremely domineering. Ye Xuan's expression instantly turned cold. This time he did not hold back. Battle intent inside his body surged into his right arm like a tide. At the same time, his right hand clenched into a fist. Boom. The moment his fist clenched, an invisible fist force suddenly spread out from it. That fist force forcibly resisted the domineering momentum of the long-haired man. The long-haired man narrowed his eyes. His gaze became somewhat heavy. At that moment, Ye Xuan suddenly stomped his right foot. Boom, the ground exploded. Ye Xuan shot forward like an arrow leaving the bow. Boom. A piercing explosion suddenly rang out. Then Ye Xuan and the long-haired man both retreated again and again, but Ye Xuan quickly stopped. The moment he stopped, the long-haired man also stabbed both sabers into the ground, using their strength to force himself to stop. Ye Xuan was just about to continue attacking when the long-haired man in the distance suddenly said, "You may enter." Clearly, he had discovered that the two people in front of him were troublesome opponents. He did not want to risk his life. Hearing the long-haired man's words, Ye Xuan was slightly stunned. Then he turned his head to look at the 9th princess. But when he looked over, the 9th princess was no longer where she had been. Ye Xuan suddenly turned back toward the long-haired man. By then, the 9th princess was already in front of him. Slash, slash, slash. The 9th princess drew the golden saber at her waist 3 times in succession. Every slash produced a piercing sound. When the 3rd slash descended, the surroundings became quiet. The 9th princess sheathed her saber and turned to look at Ye Xuan. "A person this ugly does not deserve to live." After saying that, she turned and walked toward the entrance not far away. Ye Xuan looked at the long-haired man. In the blink of an eye, the man's body split into pieces and fresh blood scattered together with his organs. Ye Xuan shook his head. "Brother, in your next life, try to be a little more handsome." After saying that, he searched the corpse and hurried after her. The harvest was not small. He now had 50 high-grade spirit stones and 400 gold coins. Clearly, this long-haired man had robbed quite a lot before this. Looking at the bulging pouch at his waist, Ye Xuan sighed inwardly. The fastest way to make money was indeed robbery. He discovered that he seemed to like the feeling of robbing others. After the two entered the cave entrance, they found many winding narrow paths inside. Seeing this, the 9th princess frowned. At that moment, Ye Xuan's expression suddenly changed, because he discovered that the Lingxiao Sword inside him had started trembling again. The 9th princess stopped. She turned and looked at Ye Xuan. What is it? Ye Xuan was silent for a moment, then looked toward one of the narrow paths. We go this way, a feeling. He felt that the Lingxiao Sword was guiding him towards something. The 9th princess looked at Ye Xuan for a while and asked, "Are you sure?" Ye Xuan nodded. The 9th princess also nodded, then let us go. Ye Xuan trusted her because of Lingyou. And the 9th princess also had some trust in Ye Xuan. Apart from the matter of Ye Xuan standing alone against the Tang army, most of that trust also came from Lingyou. Someone Lingyou valued definitely would not have a problem with character. The two walked along one of the narrow paths. The farther they descended, the heavier Ye Xuan's expression became. Because he saw several corpses on the road. All of them had died miserably. Just as the 9th princess had said, opportunities were not found, they were seized. The two walked along the narrow path for about half an hour. Ye Xuan discovered that they had already entered the belly of the mountain underground. "Are you certain we did not go the wrong way?" the 9th princess asked. Ye Xuan nodded, continue downward. The Lingxiao Sword inside him was giving him the feeling that they had to go downward. The 9th princess nodded and did not say anything more. She continued following Ye Xuan downward. After walking for about half an hour, the two stopped. In front of them was a cliff-like stone wall. There was no road. The 9th princess looked at Ye Xuan. He walked to the stone wall and punched it. Boom. A huge hole was immediately punched through the stone wall. Beyond the hole there was another space. The 9th princess walked to Ye Xuan's side and looked through the opening. She could vaguely see an underground palace. Above the palace, a black sword hovered in the air. The 9th princess turned to Ye Xuan. "How did you know the true location of the Sword Lord was here?" Ye Xuan smiled bitterly. "He took out the Lingxiao Sword, this sword told me." The 9th princess looked at the Lingxiao Sword, then looked at Ye Xuan. "Are you stupid? I ask you and you just tell me." After saying that, she patted Ye Xuan lightly on the shoulder. "Be more careful in the future." Then she turned and walked toward the palace. Ye Xuan was somewhat speechless. Of course he knew he should be careful. But the 9th princess before him was Lingyou's close friend. Moreover, after being together with her for some time, he also felt that she was someone worth befriending. That was why he was not guarded. In friendship, what mattered most was sincerity. If he did not make friends, then so be it. But if he did, Ye Xuan would be sincere. This was his principle as a person. The two passed through the hole and arrived before the palace. The palace was not very large. Although the surroundings were illuminated by an unknown dim glow, that light only made the palace seem even more gloomy and frightening. Ye Xuan raised his head and looked at the black sword above the palace. The sword was more than 3 meters long. It was pitch black as if made of ink. But the tip of the sword was red like blood, like cinnabar. The sword simply hovered above the palace. Looking at that sword, Ye Xuan's eyes immediately became heated. His instinct told him that the grade of this sword was not low. At that moment, the 9th princess walked toward the main gate of the palace. Ye Xuan grabbed her hand. The 9th princess looked at Ye Xuan. He shook his head, then released her hand. He raised his head and looked at the palace gate, frowning. His instinct told him there was danger. At that moment, Ye Xuan and the 9th princess both turned their heads. On their right, a man and a woman were walking toward the palace. The man wore a long white robe, while the woman wore a long black and white dress. Both had extraordinary bearing. The two of them looked at Ye Xuan and the 9th princess but did not speak. Ha ha. At that moment, laughter suddenly sounded. A moment later, an afterimage appeared. Then on the stone steps before the palace gate, a man appeared. He wore a loose black robe, both hands hidden in his sleeves, and a wicked smile on his face. Tap, tap, more footsteps sounded. Everyone looked toward the sound. A woman slowly walked over from not far away. She wore a long cloud-colored dress that trailed down to the ground. Her figure was graceful and slender. The white belt tied around her thin waist made her refined figure stand out even more. Her facial features were also extremely exquisite. Every part seemed to have been carefully carved by the heavens. But that beautiful face was somewhat cold. It contained no emotion at all, like a block of ice that had not melted for 10,000 years. One could not help feeling fear upon seeing it. It is you. Beside Ye Xuan, the 9th princess frowned. Ye Xuan turned and looked at the 9th princess. Who is she? The 9th princess said softly, one of the 2 geniuses of Cangmu Academy. Baikan, Cangmu Academy. Ye Xuan turned and glanced at the woman named Baikan. Would she directly attack him? Although he was not afraid for him, fighting at this moment would only bring disadvantages and no benefit. Under everyone's gaze, Baikan walked to one side and slowly closed her eyes without saying a word. But right after that, she opened her eyes again and looked behind Ye Xuan and the 9th princess. Ye Xuan and the 9th princess turned around and saw a man walking toward them. The man's hair was messy like a bird's nest. His clothing was also extremely simple, just a cloth shirt with several holes torn in it. On his back he carried a black iron axe. Seeing this man, the expressions of everyone around them became heavy. The 9th princess's gaze also became rather serious. The man looked at everyone around him, then also walked to one side without saying anything. The atmosphere became somewhat heavy. At that moment, the black-robed man on the stone steps suddenly looked toward the 9th princess. You must be the famous 9th princess of Jiang Kingdom. The 9th princess said softly, do you have something to say? The man laughed, I would not dare. I heard that 9th princess is the close friend of Jiang Kingdom's #1 genius, and Lingxiou. What is this? Did that national scholar and not come, national scholar and... When they heard those words, the expressions of the people around them all changed slightly. Even the man in the cloth shirt turned his head to look at the 9th princess. And Lingxiou's reputation did not only ring out through Jiang Kingdom. It was famous in other countries as well. Not only among nations, even some powers on the mountains had heard her name. The 9th princess blinked. How do you know she did not come? Hearing the 9th princess's words, the black-robed man gradually raised the corners of his mouth. His smile became wicked. If she came, even better. It would be convenient for me to see whether the famous national scholar and truly lives up to her reputation. Or whether she has a great name but no substance. She would beat you to death. The 9th princess said softly, you and she are not on the same level. The 9th princess was Lingxiou's close friend. No one understood Lingxiou's terror better than she did. That woman was someone who could make monstrous geniuses despair. The black-robed man smiled, is that so? Then I look forward to it even more. The 9th princess ignored him. She looked at everyone and said, since no one is willing to take the lead, then I will. All of us have already reached the place where the Sword Lord's true body is kept, but no one dares enter first. I imagine everyone has already sensed danger. If we continue delaying, we will only remain wary of one another and no one will gain any benefits. I have a suggestion, everyone cooperates for now. As for when that cooperation ends, I believe all of you will know. What do you think? After a moment of silence, everyone nodded, showing that they had no objection. The 9th princess raised her head and looked toward the palace gate. Who goes first? The black-robed man on the stone steps chuckled, then let me take the lead. After saying that, he bent a finger and flicked it. A black object shot out forcefully from his fingertip. Boom. The palace gate shattered with a roar. The people around immediately looked cautious, as if they were about to face a great enemy. At that moment, a voice suddenly came from inside the palace. You have come, everyone, you have come. Everyone was stunned and extremely confused. Come in. At that moment, the voice inside the palace sounded again. Everyone looked at one another, no one dared move. Because no one had expected that there was still someone inside this palace. At that moment, Ye Xuan suddenly walked inward. Everyone looked at him. Beside him, the ninth princess hurriedly pulled him back. "What do you want to do?" Ye Xuan froze. What did he want to do? No. It was the Lingxiao Sword. Ye Xuan's face darkened. Just now, a mysterious power had controlled him and made him walk into the palace. That mysterious power had definitely come from the Lingxiao Sword. What connection did this Lingxiao Sword have with the Sword Lord before them? Sword Lord. Thinking of this, Ye Xuan suddenly became alert. Was there not already a dead Sword Lord in the first floor of his world prison tower? Could that person be related to this Sword Lord? At that moment, the black-robed man not far away suddenly said, "The timid starve to death. The bold eat their fill. I will go in first." After saying that, he turned into a wisp of black smoke and drifted inside with the wind. Seeing the man go in first, the people around also rushed in after him. Ye Xuan and the ninth princess quickly entered as well. After stepping inside, everyone was shocked. The palace was filled with wooden statues of a man. Looking around, there were probably about 1,000 of them. All of these statues had the same appearance. Judging from the features, the person seemed to be a young man. At the waist of every statue hung a wooden sword. When Ye Xuan saw those wooden swords, he froze. The Lingxiao Sword. These wooden swords were exactly the same as the Lingxiao Sword. Most importantly, the two words Lingxiao were carved on the bodies of those wooden swords. What in the world was this? Ye Xuan was stunned. At that moment, everyone suddenly turned and looked toward a place not far away. In a dark corner, a long-haired woman was squatting on the ground carving a wooden figure. She squatted there. The long dress she wore had long since lost its original appearance. Her hair was also very long, falling all the way to the ground, and that hair was snow white. She carved the wooden figure in front of her bit by bit, extremely carefully, extremely seriously. Seeing this long-haired woman, everyone immediately became guarded. At that moment, the long-haired woman suddenly spoke. "If you came to search for treasures, you can go to the small bamboo house behind this palace. There are some things he once left there." Hearing her words, everyone looked at one another. In the next second, the black-robed man and the others rushed straight out of the Great Hall. The ninth princess had originally planned to leave as well, but when she saw that Ye Xuan had no intention of going, she stopped. "You are not going." Ye Xuan looked at the long-haired woman and replied, "You go." "I have something I want to ask." The ninth princess reminded him, "Be careful." After saying that, she turned and walked out of the hall. Earth-rank martial technique. Just as the ninth princess walked out, a shocked cry came from behind the palace. Then countless sounds of fighting echoed out. Ye Xuan ignored what was happening outside. He walked to the long-haired woman's. She stopped, turned her head to look at Ye Xuan, then shook her head. "You are not him." After saying that, she continued carving the wood before her. Ye Xuan opened his right hand. The Lingxiao sword appeared in his palm. The long-haired woman stopped. A moment later, she continued carving again. The true sword has disappeared. Only a bit of spirit remains. Has he died? Ye Xuan was silent at this moment. He was already certain that the Sword Lord on the first floor of the World Prison Tower was the person this long-haired woman had been carving. At that moment, the Lingxiao sword suddenly trembled slightly. Then it flew on its own to the woman's front. The long-haired woman's hand froze in the air. Only after a long time did she put down the carving tool in her hand. Then she tightly grasped the Lingxiao sword and looked at it for a while. Suddenly she smiled. But with that smile, 2 lines of clear liquid fell onto the Lingxiao sword. Ye Xuan remained silent. He did not know what to say. A while later, the long-haired woman said softly, "This sword was made by me for him back then." Ye Xuan looked at the long-haired woman. She gently stroked the Lingxiao sword. "Back then, he told me to wait here for him. He said he would definitely return. I waited and waited. I waited until my black hair turned silver white, but he still never came back. It was perhaps better when he did not return. At least then there was still something to miss. But now even that small longing is gone." After saying that, she turned her head and looked at Ye Xuan. "Are you his disciple?" Ye Xuan thought for a moment, then said, "You could say that." The woman slowly stood. She straightened her clothes and hair, then looked at Ye Xuan. although he never gave me any status. Strictly speaking, I cannot truly be considered his wife, but can you call me Master's wife once? Ye Xuan was silent for a blink, then he bowed deeply, Master's wife. The long-haired woman smiled, but tears flowed again. She gently touched Ye Xuan's cheek. You are very much like him back then. Both of you have the bearing of youth, and both of you are sword cultivators. In the future, if you like someone, you must not betray her. Ye Xuan was silent for a while, then said, Master's wife, after waiting so painfully for so many years, have you ever regretted it? She shook her head and smiled softly. If you truly like someone in your heart, then even if you give everything for him and still receive no result, you will not regret it. Ye Xuan fell silent. The long-haired woman looked at the wooden figures. Waves seemed to rise in her eyes as if she were remembering the past. After a while, she gently stroked one of the wooden figures before her. Actually, I know he may have forgotten me. Otherwise, with his strength, going anywhere in this King world would not take him more than 2 hours. But it is all right, I remember him. That is enough. After saying this, she suddenly opened her right palm. In the next second, the black sword hovering above the palace transformed into a streak of sword light and entered the hall. The sword landed steadily in the woman's palm.